You'll have the chance after this is over to explore the museum and check out some of the bigger changes we've made too, maybe since the last time you've been here. I'm TJ Honeycutt. I'm the Director of Archives and Outreach. My guest today will be Tom Snyder. We also have Teresa Galley, our Executive Director, and Brian Hoffert's back there too. And Alec will be here recording Tom for posterity. We have not been able to do in-person programming here for a while, so this will be our first one, actually, of sort of a reintroduction. We did History Hunters in the past. We also have Pete Jones online, who now kind of carries on that torch. That program's gonna continue, so you'll get on our Facebook page and through through the internet, you'll still have history programming from us, but we'll do this in person every first Thursday of the month at this time. Our next program next month will be Sarah Siders Beitzel from the Miami Indians. She is their sort of public relations person, and she'll do a great program there. And then we'll have the recorder after that who will walk you through sort of what the county government can offer you for home research and property research. And I'll do a talk too about what we can offer to help out with that too. We have coffee and donuts in the back, of course. We also have a donation box there. If you would like to help these programs continue, please donate there. And also to pitch in a little bit for the Coffee and Donuts Fund. In case you haven't been here before, if you happen to need it, there are restrooms just down the way here. It'll be the first door on the left if you head that way. But that said, hopefully we'll see you next month. It looks like we have an amazing attendance today, so very happy with that. But I'm just going to hand it over to Tom here because he's been ready to go for a while. So
Thank you, TJ. I appreciate the turnout today. The Lord blessed us with almost getting up above freezing maybe here this afternoon. So I worried a little bit about it when we were first talking about February. I thought, well, the Lord's going to have to work this out if it's going to be anything. It's going to be great, and I think it's happened. Appreciate everybody here. We're going to get started. A little closer? Okay. Get started with some slides that I have a long time. I'll get started with a little bit about myself. I was involved at Somerset. My mother told me when I was just a little over 1 week old, because my folks had just built the locker plant behind the Kroger grocery store in Old Somerset in 1947. So I started out about 1.5 weeks old first time in Somerset. Unfortunately, I was born in Peru, and that was the closest hospital. And so I was involved with Somerset all my life up until it was taken from us and we moved to a new town. And Dad was involved with that big time. He was the president of the Relocation and Development Corporation of the new town of Somerset. He worked awful hard on that, trying to get it moved. In fact, the Army Corps of Engineers says you can't move it. It's not a corporation. It's an unincorporated town, and the Corps won't allow that to happen. Dad says, we'll see about that. This is a plot map that I found, and it was I think the date on that is 1943 when it was first plotted, and then they allowed them to survey this map, or survey the town. Up in the north here you can see the Mississinewa River. They notate there where the bridge was. Of course, the first bridge was a steel bridge, and one of the things that I would like to point out is this is the original plat, and in the middle, about the first 6 lots or streets were the first plat in 1943. Then there was additions added on to the east a little later, and 2 times. And in 1953, there was called a Snyder addition. And I tried my best to go back and see if there's a connection. I'm not sure, kind of related, I think. It was a William Snyder, and he donated that section back here in 1953, and he also donated the lot for free to the Methodist Church in Somerset. So he was an entrepreneur. He bought land and then he had it surveyed and brought into Somerset. I don't know for sure if I'm related, but maybe. Then the town was expanded one more time, and of course down at the far end was a Somerset Cemetery, and it was on the banks of 10 Mile Creek. And 10 Mile Creek and Mississinewa River come together, and I've been told that that was a typical location for a cemetery. They would put them close to a river on a bank that was high enough that it wouldn't wash them out, of course. And that's what happened at the Somerset Cemetery at the far west end. And one other thing I wanted to note on this particular map, Water Street is the first street that's close to the river, Mississinewa River, and Main Street was a street back here that was where the high school was, the 1924 high school, and that was owned by Reasoners, where the high school was built on the original plat in 1943. And Reasoners were around town there for years and years. I think we'll go on there, DJ. This map was done by Bob Fairstows following the reservoirs being built. And this was a list of all the property owners in the old town of Somerset. Now, Bob didn't do this right away in 1963 or 4 when it was all being moved, but he did it by memory in the 60s and 1960 and 70s. So he did it by memory. Some of them, most of them are very accurate, and he numbered every lot and everybody that sold property to Corps of Engineers. And we'll go ahead and, EJ. This was the second school at Somerset. This was what I call the Hilltop School, the one south of Somerset on the hill up above. And you can see in these 2 pictures, most of the school kids were standing out front. The trail, we'll have another picture here later of the walkway that went down to the town from the Hilltop School of Somerset. Okay. These pictures comes from the Methodist Church book that was produced in 1956. And Louise Stauffer, the Methodist Church, was president of the Women's Society there, and she was very instrumental in this book, a completely amazing book for 1956. I don't know what gave her the idea to do this.
Somebody contacted her about doing a cookbook.
Yeah, well,
And so that's the reason there's a few recipes in the back. And she talked this guy into letting her do a history of Somerset. And that took her
a lot of hours.
Took over our kitchen table a year, I think.
Karen is here, and daughter of Louise, Ray and Louise Stauffer. And This picture here was 1917 up at the hilltop, and you can see they had what they called kid hacks. The horses were pulling carriages, and if you look closely at this, the carriages even had a chimney in them, so they had a wood stove so they could warm up the kids in the school bus, supposedly. This then was 56 after the new gymnasium was built. The one in the top left is registered as the first one-room school in Somerset, and I think it was built around 1849, and I don't know where it was exactly located. I get different people saying different places of where the wooden one-room schoolhouse was in Somerset. I do know that in Walsh Township there were 10 one-room schoolhouses at one time, and most of them were on farm corners or someplace where the community could send their kids to school without having to go a long distance, of course. And a lot of these buildings were used on Sundays as a meeting house, and churches were started and formed in a lot of these one-room schoolhouses. And that's not only for Walsh Township, that's for all of Wabash County, probably all of Indiana. This is a picture in the middle of the sidewalk that went up to the hilltop school. And my grandmother, which most of you probably remember, Vernie, her maiden name was Schroyer. She married Tom Snyder, my grandpa. Then after he died, she married John Nee, and she graduated from the Hilltop School in 1916. There was only 6 of them graduated that year. But see, she was very familiar with the kid acts. Okay, TJ. This picture is the 1920 basketball team at the Hilltop School at Somerset. And if you look closely, you notice they were playing on clay dirt. It was outside. That was the north side, or south side, I'm sorry, the south side of the Hilltop School, because the sun was shining on that side. But on the other side of that basketball court was the Martin farm, and there was cornfield there. So in the background you can see corn in there. Shelby, you know some of them guys in that picture?
Not like just sitting here.
Okay. Well, this guy on the end is the famous, or infamous maybe I should say, John Huddleston.
Oh.
John Huddleston was his name. And Millers were on the 2 on each side. That was Lloyd Miller and Earl, I think it was, Miller. And I think the guy on the left, I'm not sure anymore. I'd have to get my papers out to find out. There's a Meisner in there. But they had just enough guys for a 5 team and 1 substitute. And of course, when you played basketball at the old Hilltop School, you passed the ball, you didn't dribble it very much. Okay.
Are they wearing garters to hold their
Yes,
stockings?
they do have garters. Now, I'm not sure in a cornfield how garters would help, but I think it was because the socks didn't have much elastic.
They fall down.
Okay, and that picture, by the way, came from Fernie Triglett, for many of you that...
Oh, yeah.
Fernie and I got together before he passed away, and I got some of his pictures. This picture, of course, was the 1924 school that was built, and that was later, of course, in the 50s, because the gymnasium's there. And this picture is after they built this school. This was the girls' basketball team in 1956. And the girl holding the basketball, most of you probably, if you was around Somerset, know who that is. That's Ruth Hollinger. Ruth Nee was her maiden name. And connected, related.
Was this new school built on the same site as the old one?
No, no. They were a half a mile apart or a little more. The hill was behind, up above this school. In fact, the old Hilltop School is at an elevation just a little bit above the emergency spillway at the Mississinewa Dam, and I do not think the water would ever get on where the old Hilltop School, but you can't get there because of 10 Mile Creek on the north side or south side. Okay, DJ. This picture is basically the one before. This was after 52. In 1952, they built a new lunchroom and a new gymnasium. The gymnasium, you can see, was a cement block building they built on the east side of the school. It had a domed roof, black tar roof on it, domed. It was the very first regulation IHSAA basketball floor in Wabash County. The next one that was built that was regulation floor was Manchester. If you remember, even at Wabash High School, there were 2 lines on the center circle. That's because it wasn't 90 feet long. Somerset only had 1 line in the center circle. Picture at the right is a picture of the 1951 cooks. My grandmother, Bernie Nee, like I said, she was a Schroyer. She was a Snyder. She married my grandpa, Tom, who I'm named after, and then she married John Nee. She was Bernie Nee at that time. Everybody called her Bernie, even though it's Verna. And beside her on our left was Bessie Dieter.
Oh my, yes.
Bessie Dieter lived right across from the school in Old Somerset. She was one of the first cooks hired by Graham's. Graham's was the first hot lunch cook for Somerset High School in 1944. She started it in August of 44. Well, she started that summer because the government had surplus from World War II. And they were trying to get surplus food from the military to schools. Well, Somerset didn't have a hot lunch program. So they contacted my grandmother, Bernie, and she started the first hot lunch program at Somerset School. That Somerset School. The lunchroom at that time was right here in the lower floor on the west end of the school. Later, when they built the new